Car alarms and the sharp cries of panic shattered the peaceful Sunday afternoon at Maplewood Estates. I was halfway through building a treehouse for my 7-year-old daughter, Emma, when the shouts pierced the air. Fire! Somebody help! Dropping my hammer without hesitation, I sprinted toward the commotion. After 2 decades of service as a police commander, my instincts always led me toward danger, not away. 3 weeks prior, after my wife's passing, Emma and I had moved here, hoping this quiet neighborhood would offer some much-needed peace and healing. Emma was born with a rare muscular disorder. She couldn't walk without assistance and relied on her wheelchair for mobility. But my daughter's spirit was unbreakable, braver and stronger than most grown adults I knew. As I rounded the corner onto Maple Drive, my stomach dropped. Thick black smoke billowed from a silver sedan parked near the community center. Worse, parked too close to the burning car was my own van, and inside, trapped in her special seat, was Emma. Her face was pressed against the window, her eyes wide with terror. I had entrusted Emma to our neighbor, Mrs. Park, while I worked on the treehouse. They were supposed to be attending a children's book reading event inside the center. Desperately pushing through the crowd gathering around the burning vehicle, I spotted Mrs. Park trying to get to my van. But standing in her way was a tall woman with perfectly styled auburn hair and an expensive cream pantsuit. "Move. There's a child inside." Mrs. Park pleaded, her voice cracking with fear. "Nobody touches this vehicle until security verifies its registration," the woman replied coldly, arms crossed. I immediately recognized her, Miriam Cartwright, the iron-fisted president of the HOA. Her reputation had preceded her. Neighbors had whispered about her obsessive rule enforcement, but I hadn't imagined this level of cruelty. "That's my daughter," I shouted, charging toward the van. Miriam narrowed her eyes at me, unfazed by my urgency. "Stop right there. This vehicle is illegally parked during a restricted HOA event. Rules are rules." Smoke from the burning sedan was now thickening, and the flames were growing, pushed closer to my van by the wind. Emma was visibly struggling to unlock the door, but with her limited muscle strength, the special controls out of reach, she couldn't manage it. My heart pounded as I stepped toward the van. "Move aside," I barked. Miriam didn't budge. "The tow truck and security are on their way. No exceptions." Mrs. Park, sobbing, explained, "I just stepped inside for Emma's book when the fire started. This woman snatched your keys from my purse when I tried to rush back." "My daughter is in danger," I snapped, my voice carrying the weight of authority honed by years of leadership. "This isn't a debate." Miriam's lips curled into a smirk. "Anyone can claim that child is theirs. You're just trying to bend the rules." She held my keys tightly in her well-manicured hand. At that moment, the flames engulfing the silver sedan rose higher, forcing the crowd to back away. The intense heat radiated outward, making my van's metal shimmer dangerously. A voice from the crowd shouted, "That car's about to blow." Miriam wavered but stubbornly stayed put. "If you'd properly registered your vehicle, we wouldn't be in this situation," she snapped. The last thread of my patience snapped. "I'm Commander Patrick Reynolds, 8th Precinct. You are actively obstructing an emergency rescue," I growled, flashing my badge. "Stand down." For the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. But instead of backing off, she did the unthinkable. She pressed the lock button on my key fob, sealing Emma inside even tighter. "I'm securing this vehicle until proper authorities arrive," she insisted, though her voice now trembled. The sedan made a loud popping sound as its tires blew from the heat. We had only minutes if that before the gas tank exploded. "Everyone back," I ordered the crowd, then turned to Miriam again. "Give me the keys. Now." Miriam clutched the fob tighter, stepping back defiantly. "I know my rights. This is HOA property and you have no jurisdiction here without." She didn't finish her sentence. Out of nowhere, 17-year-old Caleb Johnson, the local high school's star linebacker, barreled into her, knocking her to the ground with the precision of a seasoned athlete. "Sorry, ma'am," he muttered, snatching the keys from her stunned grasp and tossing them to me. "But that kid's life matters more than your rules." I caught the keys and sprinted to the van. My hands shook as I unlocked the doors. The handle burned my skin from the heat radiating off the nearby flames. Smoke choked the air. "Daddy!" Emma screamed. "I'm here, baby. Hold on." I shouted back, yanking the door open and unbuckling her specialized harness as quickly as I could. Close your eyes, sweetheart, and hold your breath. Just as I scooped her into my arms, the sedan's rear window shattered, sending shards of glass spraying across the parking lot. Clutching Emma against my chest, I sprinted away from the van toward safety, past Miriam, who now lay pinned to the pavement by Caleb and another neighbor. Despite the chaos, Miriam's expression remained one of seething outrage rather than remorse. "You can't treat me like this. I'm the HOA president," she shrieked. I didn't slow down. I carried Emma across the street and placed her gently on a park bench, checking her over for injuries. "Are you okay, honey?" Emma nodded weakly, tears glistening in her eyes. She wouldn't let Mrs. Park come back to me, she whispered. She told me. People like me shouldn't be at normal people events. Rage surged through me, but before I could respond, a deafening explosion rocked the parking lot as the sedan's gas tank detonated. Flames spread quickly and the heat became unbearable. The fire department's sirens echoed in the distance, but my van and Emma's wheelchair, communication device, and medical equipment were already beyond saving. The first squad car on the scene was driven by Officer Tanya Ramirez, a former officer from my old precinct. "Commander Reynolds?" she gasped in surprise. "What? I live here now," I replied grimly. "And that woman," I pointed at Miriam, "just locked my disabled daughter in a van next to a burning car. I need her arrested for child endangerment, theft, and obstruction of emergency services." Miriam's protest died on her lips as Ramirez approached with her handcuffs at the ready. "It was just a misunderstanding," Miriam stammered, trying to adjust her now disheveled appearance. "Save it for your statement," Ramirez replied sharply. "You stole the keys and locked a child inside a van while a fire was spreading. You're under arrest." As the investigation unfolded over the following weeks, damning evidence surfaced. Security footage from the community center clearly captured Miriam taking the keys from Mrs. Park's purse and standing idly by as Emma struggled inside the locked vehicle. Worse, forensic investigators uncovered text messages on Miriam's phone boasting to a friend about finally getting rid of the undesirables in our community. Fire works wonders. The district attorney upgraded the charges to attempted voluntary manslaughter and hate crime enhancements. News outlets quickly picked up the story, and Miriam's face was broadcast across the nation as a symbol of HOA abuse and discrimination. Even Miriam's longtime supporters on the HOA board couldn't shield her. In an emergency vote, they removed her from her position. Her real estate brokerage terminated her contract, and clients abandoned her. Perhaps the biggest shock came from Robert Cartwright, Miriam's husband of 3 decades. He arrived at my temporary apartment one evening, visibly shaken, holding a check. "This won't fix everything," he said softly, tears pooling in his eyes. "But it's a start. I've made excuses for Miriam for too long. I filed for divorce this morning. She won't hurt anyone else on my watch." The check was for $75,000. I hesitated to accept it, but Robert insisted. "You're not the first she's harmed. You're just the first who can hold her accountable." Community support poured in. Caleb's family offered us the use of their wheelchair-accessible van. A retired engineer volunteered to craft Emma a temporary chair from his workshop supplies. Donations poured in from near and far as people learned about the tragedy. 6 months later, the transformation of the neighborhood was undeniable. Miriam's seized assets helped fund the creation of a new recreation center designed specifically for children with disabilities. The community center, once symbolizing exclusion, became a haven of inclusion and acceptance. At the opening ceremony, Emma, seated in her brand-new wheelchair, cut the ceremonial ribbon at the entrance of Emma's Place, the name unanimously chosen by the community. As I watched my daughter smile, surrounded by friends and neighbors who now saw her for her courage and heart instead of her disability, I knew that the terrible ordeal we had faced had sparked something good, a lasting change. That night, as I tucked Emma into bed, she looked up at me and asked, "Daddy, will the mean lady ever get out of jail?" I paused, then answered honestly, "Not for a very long time, sweetheart." Emma nodded thoughtfully. "Good. Maybe she'll learn to be nice while she's there. And now her house is helping kids like me." Out of tragedy, we had built something beautiful, a community that learned to prioritize people over policies, kindness over control, and love over fear.